guys. Make sure you join in fast and watch it.
Just about 3.5 minutes remaining on the clock. Now the interim cryogenic propulsion stage locks. Topping should terminate here. Coming up to the final 3 minutes of the count. When we hit about 2 minutes and 2 seconds, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage will switch to its internal battery power. That'll be followed seconds later by
GLS is go for purge sequence 4.
The core stage switching to internal power as well. First, the solids at 2 minutes, the core stage at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds, switching to internal power. We're less than 3 minutes to the planned liftoff of Artemis 2. Continuing on with the terminal count to a liftoff scheduled for 6:35 and 12 seconds Eastern Time. Should see a gimbal there of those engines. You see that in motion. Good testing of those RS-25 engines, now approaching the final 2 minutes in flight. As a reminder, those RS-25s will ignite as planned at T-minus 6 seconds.
Go for upper stage to internal power.
6.36 seconds before liftoff is when those engines will come alive. We're less than 2 minutes. In this, the final minute and a half, the core stage will switch to internal power as well. The upper stage will...
GLS is go for core stage to internal power.
Good call out there. Should hear a call for the upper stage entering terminal countdown mode. Coming up on the final minute of the count. One minute in counting. Cheers across the press line here at the Kennedy Space Center.
GLS go for ALS.
30 seconds and counting.
25.
The hydrogen burn-off igniters will kick on at T-minus 12 seconds.
15.
Hydrogen burner ignition.
10. GLS is go for core stage.
8, 7, 6 should have RS-25 start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff of the Artemis 2 mission, the first crewed flight of the Orion spacecraft, the first humans to plan a trip beyond low Earth orbit, has taken off from Florida. Roger, roll pitch. About 1 minute in flight, the SLS rocket traveling faster than the speed of sound. Engine's about to throttle back as it approaches max Q, the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. RS-20. Good confirmation, past max Q, the RS-25s throttling back up to 109% thrust capacity. Now about a little more than a minute and a half into flight. Coming up next will be the separation of the two 5-segment solid rocket boosters a little more than 2 minutes into the mission. That roll maneuver we saw earlier, intentional to put the crew in the right orientation as the rocket continues to climb uphill. And a good separation of those solids. Five solid rocket boosters chock full of shuttle heritage, having carried this crew on the first part of their journey.
Integrity, guidance converged, performance nominal, upper stage RCS ready.
75% of the initial thrust was those engines.
SM priming complete.
SM priming complete.
Now approaching T plus 3 minutes into the flight. Coming up next will be the jettison of the launch abort system. At that point in the mission, it will no longer be needed. Now more than 3 minutes into this flight of the Artemis II crew on board their Space Launch System rocket. There go the covers for the launch abort system. Now it has been jettisoned. Orion Integrity now no longer having the launch abort system.
Integrity, good last jettison, great view.
Copy jettison, Team Eco 8 plus 02.
And with that protection covering now gone,
Stay on board, Stan.
And Houston has you loud and clear on Tigris at the common line.
the windows are open as you just heard.
Outstanding, Stan. We have you soon.
Reaching the Kármán line, entering space. First space flight for Jeremy Hansen, the second for Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Cook. Now a little more than 4 minutes into flight, the next big milestone is coming up in about 4 minutes' time. We're watching for the core stage main engine cutoff. This will be MECO, where the 4 RS-25 engines will power down. That'll be followed a little more than 10 seconds later by the separation of the core stage and the ICPS, the rocket's upper stage, which will be powered by an RL-10 engine from L3 Harris. Continuing to get great tracking views this April 1st, the flight of Artemis II. Well,
Integrity, GPS processing.
Outstanding, Stan. We see the same, and we have a beautiful moonrise. We're headed right at it.
good words by the commander heading towards that beautiful moonrise. Their zero-G indicator happens to be named Rise as well. Created by a second grader in California, taken from inspiration by the iconic
Integrity, 3 engine press.
Earthrise image.
Dreams and press.
The call we were just hearing regarding the engines still have 4 good RS-25s. Only 3 would be needed to carry it to the correct point for MECO at this point, so they are in a very good position at this stage in the flight. Now approaching T plus 6 minutes.
Integrity, looking good at 6 minutes.
Same on board, Stan.
Looking at a animation rendering, a visualization you can see in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. This is not from a tracking camera, but a visualization of what is happening in real time, this rendering coming from NASA. About 6.5.
Integrity, expect nominal shutdown.
Integrity copies, nominal shutdown.
A good view of the contrail there from firing room 1. I believe that's the silhouette of Artemis launch director Charlie Blackwell Thompson. Has to be ecstatic so far of how this mission has performed. Seven minutes into the mission now. Now less than 1 minute away to MECO, main engine cutoff. Engines will begin to throttle down as they approach the point of main engine cutoff. Now nearly 7.5 minutes post-flight beginning.
Integrity, AOA open.
AOA open.
NASA reporting nominal trajectory still so far, a call out relating to an abort zone if needed in the Pacific Ocean. Coming up to MECO here momentarily. And we had a good MECO, and as you can see, stage separation.
Integrity and nominal MECO, core stage separated.
We see the same on board, Stan.
This camera view from one of NASA's imaging planes, WB-57, I believe. Now back to the visualization showing the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. A little more than 9 minutes into the flight so far. The RL-10 engine nozzle should have extended by this point. The crew released in...
Integrity Houston, looking ahead to PRM numbers so far per the pad.
Copy that, Stan. Numbers for the pad.
That call confirming that teams are tracking towards the perigee raise maneuver about 49 minutes post liftoff. Before then, though, the Orion solar arrays should deploy on the European service module. That's expected at T plus 20 minutes.
Integrity, good. NEDS deploy.
Copy that, Stan. Good, Neds.
And Integrity Houston for PWD setup. Just a reminder, halfway open on the secondary.
We copy that, Stan. Halfway open.
And just confirming there that the RL-10 nozzle was extended as expected. The communication now from the Johnson Space Center to Commander Reed Wiseman coming from the CAPCOM, who is NASA astronaut Stan Love. Crew will now be able to raise their visors as well for NASA. As we're awaiting the next big milestone, which is set to be the
Houston, C3 Aux power back in auto.
Copy C3 Aux, and we're 2 minutes to maneuver.
Let's go ahead and listen in to a NASA commentator here for a moment from the Johnson Space Center, I believe.
30 seconds of mission elapsed time. We're going to continue to follow the crew of the Artemis 2 mission. They are beginning their journey around the moon to verify the systems that will take us to its surface. An incredible ascent. Artemis 2 is underway. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen begin their journey to the moon. Still milestones to come up as we await solar array deploy and the critical burns that will get Integrity into high Earth orbit around the Earth before engines are fired to get us around the moon. We'll keep tabs on Integrity and its crew from here in Mission Control Houston. But for now, we're going to send it back to you, Megan and Nicole at the Kennedy Space Center. Very jealous.
As teams are awaiting the deployment of the Orion solar arrays from the European Service Module, which is expected in about 4 minutes' time from now, taking a look at the split screen between the visualization of what's happening with the interim cryogenic propulsion stage and the Orion spacecraft on the left, and the now empty mobile launcher there on the right-hand side of your screen. NASA leadership mentioned that there were a number of improvements made to the mobile launcher to make it more resilient against the impacts of 8.8 million pounds of thrust provided by the 2 solid rocket boosters and 4 RS-25s that we just saw propel the start of the Artemis 2 mission. The goal is to get this mobile launcher back in a configuration where they were able to return it to the vehicle assembly building in the not too distant future, since with the goal to launch the Artemis 3 mission now in a little more than a year's time, the stacking will need to get underway later this year, and that begins with the mobile launcher returning to the vehicle assembly building once it has been cleared to do so.
And Integrity Houston, Crosstie is on board per the ETSI-DEM.
We copy, Houston. Thank you.
Houston, Integrity anywhere until that momentary possible.
And Reed, no action, we're looking at it. Yeah, Integrity Houston, update on TDRS handover for your pad.
Give us just 1 minute. And Stan, you can read it. Ike is ready to copy.
Roger. TDRS handover east to west expected 1 second earlier at 5:1 minutes, 26 seconds.
All right, Stan, we copy 1 second earlier for 5126 TDRS east to west, and saws are starting to deploy. Thermal knives are firing.
We concur. Thanks for the report.
Now 21 minutes and change post liftoff. Conversation we were just hearing, a confirmation that solar array deploy is in work. Reaching a TDRS handover a little bit, about 1 second earlier than originally planned. TDRS is the tracking and data relay satellite system. It's part of the Near Space Network, which is working to maintain communication with the Orion spacecraft during this early phase in flight. As the mission goes on, it will transition to comms with the Deep Space Network.
And integrity for prop messages, we see 2 temperature measurements right near the line. It's that momentary message you saw earlier. We're going to suppress those. It's CM helium heater 2 T1 and heater 1 T1. They're going suppressed.
Integrity, thank you. We see the same. Houston Integrity, we are happy to report that Jeremy has the O2 sensors on.
Copy O2 sensors. Integrity Houston, we see 4 saws deployed and latched, ready for ATO preferred.
Yeah, we're almost there in the procedure stand, and we see the same thing.
Good confirmation of...
Integrity Houston, we are seeing a 7-second miscompare between the MET on Orion and ICPS. We'd like you to read us the MET from your center status bar and for the ICPS on StackSum.
And Stan, we see a absolutely precise alignment. MET 25, 14, 15, 16, precisely aligned with ICPS MET.
Copy, thank you for that. We'll investigate a ground issue.
And Houston Integrity, ATO preferred set.
Copy, ATO preferred.
Time now, T plus 26 minutes, 3 seconds and counting. A good confirmation that the 4 solar arrays have deployed on the Orion spacecraft and have latched to begin to draw power. The ICPS has the RL-10 engine facing the sun to give them the optimal position for starting to draw power.
Integrity for GNC, we're taking channel 1 to unfiltered and to BFS.
Okay, Stan, we're watching. Go ahead.
Now a little more than 29 minutes into flight, the next big milestone is coming up in about 20 minutes time. That is the perigee raise maneuver, which will take the Orion spacecraft in the upper stage from its current orbit at 1,381 by 17 statute miles and raise that perigee up to 115 statute miles. Again, that burn expected here in now just under 20 minutes time. As we watch the progress of the early phases of the Artemis 2 mission after a successful liftoff from Launch Complex 39B here at the Kennedy Space Center, let's wind the clock back a little bit to show you some of the brilliant photos captured by our photography team from here at the press site. We start with this image from photographer Michael Kane. I want to point out something here in this photo. If you just look to the left of the mobile launcher in between the ML and that middle lightning protection tower, you can see the slide wire baskets that make up the emergency egress system were released and are starting to head towards the terminus point in this image. It was unclear if this was supposed to happen, if this is part of the nominal procedure at liftoff, that those jettison away, perhaps as a means of protecting them from the impact of the solid rocket boosters and RS-25 engines. We'll have a briefing from NASA a little bit later this evening, and so that'll be something we're curious if that's brought up by the NASA leadership, or if not, then we or perhaps another one of our colleagues in the press corps will be able to have that addressed. Moving on to our next launch photo here. This is a photo from our Adam Bernstein as the SLS rocket takes flight alongside the Stars and Stripes above the Artemis program flag that you see just beneath there at the flagpole adjacent to the countdown clock. And finally, we'll conclude our roundup with a photo from John Pisani. A wide view with the flags on the right and an eager crowd excited to see what is poised to be humans' return to the lunar area for the first time since 1972 and Apollo 17. As a reminder, though, this is not a landing mission. Crews will also not be entering into lunar orbit. This mission, Artemis 2, designed to be a free return trajectory, which means the Orion spacecraft, both the crew module and the European service module, will perform a free return trajectory, a big loop around the far side of the moon, and target a splashdown next week, scheduled for April 10th, if all continues to go well, in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego, where the U.S. Navy will be ready and waiting to move in quickly to recover the astronauts and bring them safely aboard, either immediately onto the recovery ship that will be awaiting them, and then flying quickly back to shore for initial medical checkups, which is standard for this type of return operation. We saw the recovery team get through their paces back in the Artemis 1 mission. Of course, that was an uncrewed test flight of the Orion spacecraft. This Orion spacecraft also performing a slightly different trajectory this time, which is why there were fewer launch days available to the team, because instead of doing the skip re-entry as was originally planned for the mission, there was a little bit more cracking and breakup of the shields, the heat shield at the base of the crew module for the Artemis 1 mission, and so teams plan this different trajectory, coming in at a slightly steeper angle. That skip entry, though, will return as the heat shield for the Artemis 3 mission is new and improved. Well, I say that the heat shield is improved for the Artemis 3 mission, but that will be in low Earth orbit. So still waiting to see what the full mission profile of that flight will be. But for Artemis 4 and beyond, the plan at this point is to perform that skip entry. Now, a little more than 34 and a half minutes into this mission so far. Coming up next at T+49 is that all-important perigee raise maneuver, which will put the crew into a safe orbital position. Some of the next big mission milestones after that perigee raise maneuver that happened here during flight day 1. Less than 2 hours after, or I should say less than an hour after the perigee raise maneuver is an apogee raise burn, which will put the Orion spacecraft and the ICPS into a high Earth orbit at 43,730 by 0 statute miles. And Orion will remain about that apogee through the...
Integrity Houston, updated PRM numbers when you're ready to copy.
All right, Houston, we are ready to copy.
TIG is 2 seconds earlier at 4 minutes, 48 seconds. TIGO unchanged at 26 seconds.
49, 48, TIGO 26.
And you're hearing those slight updates coming from Mission Control Houston. Capcom Stan Love up to the crew on board the Orion spacecraft. The perigee raise burn will be a total of 26 seconds, so a fairly short burn of the RL-10 engine. Crews busily working to make sure all of the life support systems are in operation as expected.
Integrity Houston, for Optimus on the PCD, we have time update instructions when you're ready.
And Houston, Integrity, we copy. Hands are pretty busy at this time. I think we will call you back when we're ready for that.
All right, that one is not urgent. 2 minutes to maneuver to PRM attitude.
We are watching and concur. 90 seconds-ish, maybe.
Now T plus 39 minutes, 6 seconds and counting. We're about 10 minutes away from the start of that perigee raise maneuver, which will last a total of 26 seconds. Let's go ahead and listen in now to Mission Control Center in Houston.
Once concluded, Stan Love will report it back up to the crew, and we'll stand by for that.